had this really insane thing called a deathmatch, which I really wasn't clear on. I nearly died.
The title didn't tip you off?
Yeah, I should have. You learn quickly in wrestling how real it actually is. Yeah. A lot of the blood that you typically see in wrestling matches is real blood. A death match is something that includes things that you could find around the arena, like a stop sign or a ladder or a barbed wire or a light tube, chain, which are dangerous. Yeah. I got stabbed in the neck with the light tube. I literally thought I was dying for a minute or two. The funny thing is, when I went in that place, they hated me. But by the time I left, they were cheering. When I was recovering in the hospital, I was like, why am I beating the hell out of myself? Why am I putting my life at risk?
Because if you do it, no one else can do it worse.
Yeah.
It's Mayim Bialik's breakdown. She's gonna break it down for you, because you know she knows a thing or two. And now she's gonna break down. It's a breakdown. She's gonna break it down.
Hi, I'm Mayim Bialik, and welcome to my breakdown. This is a place where we break things down so you don't have to. I'm flying solo today. Fortunately, Jonathan's under the weather. We have a very exciting guest. Before I talk about who that is, I want to remind everybody, if you are not subscribed, please subscribe. Subscribe on the YouTube channel, or if you're listening anywhere you listen to podcasts, please subscribe. Helps us a lot. Leave comments, share. This is a really awesome episode. Who would think that in one episode of Mayim Bialik's Breakdown, we could tackle how Bob Ross paintings, professional wrestling, and acting relate to childhood trauma and addiction. It's going to happen here today because we're talking to David Arquette. David Arquette's been a household name in Hollywood for over 30 years. I personally have worked with him twice, once on Blossom and once on a science show that he needed to be rushed to the hospital in the middle of filming. He obviously is known from Scream, from a ton of things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Ready to Rumble, 3,000 Miles to Graceland, Never Been Kissed. He's currently in The Good Half with Nick Jonas and a really awesome cast. You can see that now in theaters, and he's going to talk all about that. David's also going to talk about how he acquired the rights to Bozo the Clown, what clowning means to him, how it relates to all of the other incredible work that he's done. And we actually recorded this episode during International Clown Week, which was established by Richard Nixon. So we talk all about clowns, the significance, what it means culturally. David's a really, really lovely person who's super, super open about where he came from, where he's going, what he's been through. And it's just such a pleasure to welcome David Arquette to The Breakdown. Break it down.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We worked together, and I don't remember it.
Well, we started to work together, and I had an emergency situation that happened. I got rushed to the hospital, and I ended up not filming because I had got 2 stents put in my heart.
You are right. And
Yes.
that now sounds familiar.
Yes. now it's all making sense. We did rehearse or something. It was weird. It was on shoot day that it all happened. It was a production for Sid and Marty Krofft.
Yes.
Yeah. And
But we worked together on Blossom.
oh, yes.
That's
Well,
what.
sorry,
okay, sorry.
sorry.
Now
Yes,
David
we
Arquette and I
did.
have worked together twice, and I
Right.
didn't remember.
Of course, I remember that
Okay,
as well.
so we were. Okay, let's do this one first.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. I was doing a science show for Sid and Marty
Yes.
Krofft, and you.
That must have been strange.
That's crazy. The whole thing was strange. And we were so excited to have gotten you to do this
Yeah.
awesome part. You are absolutely right. You had to be rushed to the freaking hospital. I completely had forgotten that.
Yeah, what happened was the night before I had gone to, because my heart was just feeling really weird. Like I was just getting weird, like feelings. And I went to a different hospital, and they
Right.
did a bunch of like tests, but they were like, nope, nothing's wrong. Bye. And then we were getting ready to shoot that day. And I love physical comedy. I love running around and being silly. And
Right.
there was a lot of physical comedy. But I found myself questioning, like, oh, how can I do this without falling down. How can I do this without running so fast? I was like, why am I like so concerned about that? And then I just kept feeling like short of breath. And yeah, so sorry, I like threw a wrench on the whole shooting
I
of
had
that
completely
thing.
forgotten about that. So what ended up happening? Because you went to do a stress test, right?
Yeah, I went to do a stress test and essentially had a heart attack in the stress test. They had done like a
Was it working with me that did it?
I got so excited. It was too much for me. They give you an injection. There's a way of doing a stress test with an injection. And I was like, oh, I don't know what's happening right now.
Wow.
And the doctor, bless his heart, got on the phone and started like doing all this doctor talk. Like patient blah, 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 like, and not like doing anything. And he called down for the whatever the antidote was, but it was on the 5th floor.
It's Mayim Bialik. We're going to bring Mayim Bialik to the hospital to cure you.
She can fix it. Yeah, but I was like, oh, does it have to come down from the 5th floor? Are you serious? And he's like documenting all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, you're clearly like backing up your case if somebody my family wanted to sue.
Yeah.
It was so, it was scary. But they got the medicine and then I went to a different hospital and had a procedure.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
So how many years ago was that?
Everything's
great. How many years ago was that?
That was like I'm not really good with time or
but
names.
Like roughly
like 3
speaking,
or 4 years ago.
Right. Well, because I'm thinking it had. Yeah,
4 years ago. I think
might have been a little more. Might have been more
Maybe
like 5.
Yeah,
I think 5. Between the two of us, we'll figure it out. What has it been like since then? Like, here's my fear. If, God forbid, I ever had a heart attack, I would think that forever I'd be worried about it. I don't mean to worry you, but I'm curious if you worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, it gives you a whole different look on life. Like, it can be gone at any moment. You kind of, like, that's the whole thing. Yeah. It definitely is a wake-up call. You never know. I mean, life is really a gift, so just enjoy it and, go after what you really want to do with your life and don't sweat the small stuff.
Do you worry if you get too excited, something could happen? Like, were you told to be wary about anything or no?
Yes, you can exercise. You should exercise.
Can you have vigorous sex? That's what you thought I was saying? You were in my head. That's what I was going to ask you next.
Sorry, but I think so. Yeah, you can. No, you should. Yeah, you want your blood to be pumping a lot. So stuff doesn't build up. You want to really get exercise every day and you want to not eat so I don't eat the greatest. I mean, I try to eat somewhat healthy, but I'll still eat
delicious things.
Yes.
How old you had kids at the time, right?
Yes.
How old were they when this happened?
So they must have been really like
let's say 5 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, 3, 5.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Wow.
3, 6.
Okay, so the second time we worked together, you almost died. Let's go back to the first time we worked together, which I don't remember. So there are photos of us on Blossom together.
Yes.
And you look great. You were, young and hot. I was just young. I can't speak to that. But I don't really remember. I remember you were really funny. But I don't remember a lot of those years. I was 14 to 19.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just all words in there. Like, I feel like there's no room for memories because I just listened to scripts, in my head all the time.
Totally. Yeah, I know. It is all a blur back then.
Do you remember anything? I don't remember.
I mean, I remember little things. I grew up on Melrose and Gower right down the street from Paramount Studios. And I used to walk to Paramount at 8 years old alone and stand in line for Laverne and Shirley and Happy Days and Mork and Mindy and go see. I don't know what my parents, like how they would just let me alone or why they would let me in there alone. But they did. I mean, the people did. I'd go in there. I got to shake Fonzie's hand. It meant so much to me. I was like so thrilled. But I loved the whole world, like the audience, the, sitcom kind of, pacing. So that was, I believe, either my first time or one of I think it was, that was like my first sitcom. And it was really exciting for me because it was kind of a bit of a dream come true. And I'm like, oh, wow, now I'm on the other side of, I used to sit in the audience there. Yeah, it was really interesting to me.
So how old were you? So I was
17 or 18.
Oh, really?
I probably,
How
or
old are you
maybe
now?
19.
Wait, how old are you now?
I'm 53, I think.
Oh, yeah.
almost.
I'm 48. So yeah, you're whatever that math is.
Yeah.
5 years older than me. So yeah, I was probably 15, probably in the episode that you were on. I had to be 15 or 16. So yeah, you were 19 or 20.
Yeah.
Now, you come from like a proper acting family.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean,
Fourth
obviously.
generation. Our family goes back to vaudeville.
Wow.
Yeah.
So were you raised knowing like we are theater people?
Well, my mother taught an acting class when we lived in Chicago, and my father was always an improvisational actor. There, he worked with Paul Sills and a bunch of and something called the Committee. Really cool improv, like this group of improv people. So we always did improv growing up, and we did something called Story Theater, which was a play on Broadway, which is like, kids' fairy tales that they brought to life without any props and just kind of. So we always did these like little exercises. So I always loved that part, and I loved like playing freeze or like these different acting kind of fun games at camp or whatever. Then when I got in sort of high school, I was a graffiti artist and breakdancer, and my sister Rosanna, she kind of came out and started, it on her own for our new generation.
Is she? What's the order?
She's the oldest.
Okay.
And then there's my brother Richmond, my sister Patricia, Alexis, who we lost, and me.
So you're the baby.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But so as I was in high school, my sisters were, getting famous, and I could kind of see like what that like did to people. I kind of like was a little bit like, I don't want to do that. But then I had an amazing teacher named Ben DeBaldo at Fairfax High School, and he really sort of, I did a play. My first play that he had written. It's a really funny play called The Seventh Son. And he wrote it, and it was about a guy, it's like 50s kind of thing, where a guy on a motorcycle, he breaks down in front of a woman's prison. And then they take him in, and then he like ends up like sleeping with all the people. The women in the prison, which is so crazy. It was a musical.
Oh, it was a musical, of course.
I'm the seventh son of a seventh son. And it's pretty interesting. It was funny. It was really like campy and cool. But I got to ride a motorcycle through the auditorium, and I was like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
But I had to sing, and I'd never really sung before. And so I had to get over a lot of that stuff. But he gave me a lot of confidence. And he also enrolled me in like a competition where it was anonymous, and I like placed and did well in it, and so it gave me confidence to like and growing up in Hollywood, I'd auditioned like maybe for an agent a few times, or like, I got cast in a commercial. They found me at Florentine Gardens, and I got cast in a commercial with Adrian Lyne as the director. That was the cool like first little taste of it, but that was before, this happened. So in high school, Ben DeBaldo then gave me like a lot of confidence. I finally got my first audition, and I finally got my first job.
Wow.
Yeah, at 17.
What were the other things that you thought of doing? I mean, besides being a breakdancer, which is, fun and awesome. Like, did you have other things you wanted to do? Or was it always like, let's just see what happens? And then once that was sort of chosen for you, you kind of ran with it?
Art. I always loved art. So art was like a big thing. Alexis was a really amazing artist. And so yeah, at Fairfax High School, there was a magnet school within it, an art magnet school. So we had some really incredible art teachers. And so that was something. And some of the guys that were in my, or are in my, well, I don't know. We still are a crew, but we don't, I don't really do illegal graffiti anymore. But We were called the KGB, the Kids Gone Bad. Yeah, and two of them are like super fine artists, like in museums and the whole thing.
Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by ZocDoc. Being an adult has its high points, like you can eat ice cream for dinner anytime you want. You probably shouldn't, but you could. You have that option. Or you can stay up past 9 p.m. on a school night to watch one more episode of your favorite show. But being an adult's not all fun. You have to like do your taxes and figure out what's for dinner like every night. And you have to make doctor's appointments. But for that, there's ZocDoc, the healthcare app that makes adulting that much easier. ZocDoc's a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality, in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, filter for doctors who are located nearby, those who are a good fit for any particular medical need you have, and those who are highly rated by verified patients. You can also see their actual appointment openings. Choose a time that works for you and click to instantly book a visit. Plus, ZocDoc appointments happen really fast, typically within 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments, which are sometimes very helpful if you're trying to squeeze things in. Personally, I've been using the same doctor for many years, but if I need to switch things up, ZocDoc is going to be my first stop. I've referred so many people in my life to their app, to their website. So stop putting off doctor's appointments. Go to ZocDoc.com/breakdown. Find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/breakdown, ZocDoc.com/breakdown. Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by AG1. Fueling our bodies with whole foods is so important. We all know that. But every diet is going to have its nutrient gaps, including ours. That's why Jonathan and I have started our days for the past 3 years with AG1. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support. It's backed by multiple research studies. So like us, you can trust what you're putting in your body. Why do we trust AG1? Well, like so many other products, their entire formula is backed by multiple research studies, not just the ingredients. It's packed with a variety of nutrient-dense ingredients. It's the perfect complement to my vegan diet, and it really gives me peace of mind knowing that I'm covering my nutritional bases. What's special about AG1 is its attention to my gut health. And if my gut isn't functioning optimally, I know that it's going to be more challenging to absorb nutrients from my diet, no matter how healthy I try and eat. So digestion is one of the most important factors in helping your body receive high-quality nutrition, and AG1 helps. In a recent research study, AG1 doubled the amount of healthy bacteria in the gut, including 2 species known for supporting gut and whole body health. These bacteria work together to break down food, which helps alleviate bloating, promote digestive regularity, and aid in overall digestive comfort. If there's one product we trust to support whole body health, it's AG1. That's why we've partnered with them for so long. It's easy and satisfying to start your journey. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2, plus 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/breakdown. That's drinkag1.com/breakdown. Check it out. When you sort of started acting, did you think like, oh, I want to go to college, I want to pursue it academically, or did you just sort of instantly you got cast, I'm trying to do the math. Yeah. Like, what year was Scream? 96, is that right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. 95 or 96 when we shot it.
Uh-huh.
So I was in high school, and after all, this amazing drama teacher sort of gave me this confidence, I booked a pilot. And then we shot the pilot while I was still in school. Mm-hmm. And then the pilot, and I had applied to colleges, and I was taking out all these student loans for it, and I was figuring out where we wanted to go. And I got the news that they had picked the pilot up to series. So then I was like, oh, do I say no to that or go to college? But then I'll have all this debt. Or I could go and learn on the job. So it was kind of an easy decision at that point.
Talk about Scream. That's where you also met Courteney, correct?
Yeah.
Am I doing the math right?
Yeah.
Tell me about sort of being part of that franchise and what that meant.
It was so incredible working with Wes Craven. I'd gone to meet, and I'd done a film called Johns that was kind of like a Sundance darling. And so I had some like indie kind of buzz going on. Mm-hmm. And so I went in and met with Wes Craven and Marianne Magdalena and Kathy Conrad. And we were talking about some of the student roles, like the Skeet Ulrich or Matthew Lillard's role, or Jamie Kennedy, or one of the other roles. And I was like, I really love the role of Dewey because he was written differently. He was kind of more of like a big jock kind of meathead. I was like, I can play meathead, you know, but it's just not really the jock style. Yeah, so Wes was like, oh, that's really interesting. Let me think about it. And thankfully, like he you know, I got the role. And that was really just life-changing because I was supposed to die in the first one. And then Wes had me come to the set and he's like, listen, David, we're going to have you roll out on this gurney and you'll be dead in the first take. And in the second take, we'll do it again and you'll put your thumbs up. Then it'll be up to the audience. If they like you or not, they want you to live. I was like, thanks, Wes. Thanks so much. It was really sweet. Me and Wes had this incredible kind of relationship where there was something about the humor and the sort of sweetness of the Dewey character that was very much part of Wes's like funny sense of humor. He had this really mischievous, funny sense of humor. And yeah, so I don't know. It was just, we had a lot of fun. And I met Courtney on that and we ended up having a daughter, Coco. So it really did like kind of change my life.
How long after meeting did you get married?
Definitely after Scream 2, because we were upset with each other. My mother was sick and dying. And,
got it.
And but by Scream 3, I think we were married.
Okay, got it.
So probably like 5 years or something.
Okay, got it. I wonder if you can talk a little bit. You were born in Virginia, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting place to be born.
Yeah, Front Royal,
well,
Virginia.
And especially, were you raised out here? Like, how long did you live in Virginia?
Not too long, just a couple years. I was born on a commune in Virginia.
Oh.
My parents sort of escaped the 60s, hippie movement to like really go hippie and move on to a commune. But it was more of like this spiritual brotherhood kind of situation. And a bunch of families moved there, and then it was started by a guy in Indonesia, and then he flew out there, and he was like, what are you doing isolating yourself in this place? This, philosophy is about discovering what your own personal gift is and bringing it out in the world and making the world a better place. So if you're an actor, you should be where they're doing plays and movies, and if you're an architect, you should be where they're building houses and buildings. So it kind of broke up the whole kind of commune. And then we moved to Chicago after that, and then moved to Los Angeles when I was 5.
So do you remember much of your kind of commune time? No, you were too little.
Like fireflies and like, barefoot, like just kind of wandering, like, the nature. I remember nature. And we lived in this little cabin, no running water, no electricity. It was interesting. I kind of just remember the drive from there to Chicago and the drive from Chicago to Los Angeles.
Were all of your siblings born on the commune?
No, I think I was the only one born on the commune.
Got it.
I only lived there a few years, but for my older siblings, it was really difficult, especially Rosanna. She was like, I'm out of here. That's when she moved out to Los Angeles and stayed with a family that we were friends with, and she broke into the business on her own.
How many years older? What's the age difference between you and Rosanna?
11 years, I think.
Oh, okay, got it.
But it was young. I mean, she's like when she was 15 or something.
Yeah,
she hitchhiked across America with her friend.
So what were your parents like? Because I'm sort of piecing together all these things. Like they're living on a commune, but they're also like artistic, and then but also very like steeped in the industry. What was and making that decision to move to a commune, like that's a big deal. It's a thing. yeah, what was sort of your memory of them? I know that your sisters have talked, and I know you've talked a little bit about your mom in particular, who was a very interesting and complicated personality. But yeah, I'm curious.
She was really wonderful. I mean, incredible. Like, but she had a painful childhood. She overcame it though, and she became a marriage family counselor, and she did all this. Like she did her hours in getting her degree or whatever, or her certificate. But it was on her deathbed that she finally got her certificate, and I was like, "Mom, it's like you graduated life," you know. But yeah, she was like a actress model in New York when she met my father. She came from Scranton, Pennsylvania. She was like one of the few Jewish kids in the area. She dealt with a lot of that stuff, and then she moved to New York. I think they met in New York. My father was an actor. He was the son of a comedian actor named Cliff Arquette, who had a character named Charlie Weaver that was on the original. He started in radio, and then he made he made the sort of leap to television. And he became a regular on the Jack Parr show.
Wow.
It's actually interesting. Like he used to do radio at NBC, CBS, and he did this character named Charlie Weaver who would read letters home to mama. And, there's this funny thing. So he got away with a lot of interesting stuff at the time because he'd play this kind of like, not senile old man, but this kind of like really silly old man. And he would read these letters home from mama and talk about like the town drunks and the town sort of flirtatious people, and did it in a way where you could get by the censors at a time where you couldn't really kind of do that kind of thing. So he was semi-retired after radio died, and he's kind of sitting at home, and Jack Parr says, "Well, I wonder whatever happened to Charlie Weaver." And he was like, "What? I'm right here." He called up, and he was like, "Oh, you should come down." He sort of came down and then made the transition onto television, and then ended up doing a bunch of Hollywood squares and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. But, he had my dad and him had a really, it was complicated because my grandfather got custody of my father. And so my father kind of didn't grow up with his mother as much in his life, which was difficult. And
also
his dad was
unusual at that time.
Really,
Yeah.
And his dad was working a lot, so he went to like boarding school, and it was just a bit tough for him. But
and your mom comes from like Eastern European refugees, correct?
Yeah.
Like you have Holocaust.
Yeah, my grandfather escaped Poland.
Wow.
And my grandmother, yeah.
So what happens when those two people raise 5 children?
Yeah. It's intense. Our house was really interesting because it was like really comedy and tragedy. It's like dramatic, and then laughing, and like very creative, but also very like emotional, and real highs and lows. A lot of like, we were all very individual personalities, and there were a lot of Leos in my family.
I gave birth to a Leo. I know what they're like.
Yeah,
I did.
They're incredible. They're very strong personalities, and I don't know why I said that.
No, you're painting a picture.
Leos, but, no, but
when you look at David Arquette's sort of resume,
who's that?
That's you.
Okay.
There's a lot of a very eclectic, items. So we'll hit some of the eclectic. You're a certified Bob Ross painter.
Yes.
And you mentioned that, you were always kind of drawn to art. What does it take to become a certified Bob Ross painter?
It's you go to New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and you take a 3-week course.
Wow.
And you sit in a room with a bunch of other people learning how to be Bob Ross instructors. And you're surrounded by his paintings, which are really beautiful. And you're learning from somebody who's learned directly from Bob. And you're learning sort of a course that he designed himself. So you go through these different things. So you paint one painting a day for 2 weeks, and then 2 paintings a day for the final week.
Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
I watched the documentary about which was
amazing.
I mean, heartbreaking also.
Too,
But I didn't know all those super interesting things about him. Like kind of his intentional goal was to sort of appeal to women in a way.
I didn't know that either.
No, but like in a way that was like giving access to this kind of art and these conversations about art. I found that really fascinating.
I did too.
Do you still paint? Like, is it a thing that you?
I do.
Oh,
I love painting. I love art, and I do the Bob Ross courses mainly for charity now.
mm-hmm.
But it's cool because you could teach like 20, 30 people, or you could do them as just individual, like if somebody wants to do a thing with their friends. But it's fun. It's like, his course is all designed so that anyone can kind of do it if you follow the instructions.
So this is, I don't mean to go down a Bob Ross rabbit hole, but, when I watched the documentary, like I'm a person who sees what I want to paint or draw and it never comes out even close to it, right? So when I watched that documentary, I mean, it's unbelievable the things that he can do with just like very simple, like twists of the wrist, right? Like I saw him paint rocks.
Yeah.
From nothing.
Yes.
And it was like all of a sudden we were next to like a babbling stream.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. You believe that I could do that?
Absolutely.
Can anyone do that?
Pretty much anyone can do it. I mean, to a certain extent. I mean, some people, when you end up doing the courses and teaching people, a lot of people just don't listen. They just do their own thing.
Listen.
They're kind of, So if you really kind of pay attention, he's designed the brushes in a way that if you do them a certain technique, they'll turn out like, they'll look like bushes.
Wow.
They're, all of the things, the knife he designed, all the different stuff that he's designed for his kit are a certain way. And you just have to kind of listen to the instructions. You don't want to rush or overpaint something. When you add too much, it becomes all gray and the same sort of color. So you want the lights and the darks. And you just want to sort of follow the instruction that's there.
I'm just fascinated by this.
Yeah, we could do it sometime.
So, I mean, I'll take that. I might take you up on that. Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by Rocket Money. How much do you think you're paying in subscriptions every month? Well, the answer is more than you think. Over 74% of people have subscriptions that they have forgotten about. I was one of those 74%. Like, I just canceled an extra subscription I had to a streaming platform that I had accidentally signed up for under 2 different emails. Whoops. Thanks to Rocket Money, I am no longer wasting money on subscriptions that I have forgotten about. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so that you can grow your savings. Pretty good deal. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a very clear view of my expenses. I can see all of my subscriptions in one place, which is something I always believed had to exist. Well, it does with Rocket Money. If I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel it with just a few taps. I love how the dashboard can show me this month's spending compared to last month so that I can see my spending habits. Plus, they'll help you create a custom budget and keep your spending on track. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill. Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They will deal with customer service for you. Priceless. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's features. That's a lot of money. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/breakdown. That's rocketmoney.com/breakdown, rocketmoney.com/breakdown. Mayim Bialik's Breakdown is supported by BetterHelp. There's a handful of self-care non-negotiables that I have, and one of them is I do not want to skip therapy. And no matter what comes up, even if I have to move it, I try and find another time. I don't want to go a week without therapy, and other people in my life don't want me to go a week without therapy. My schedule's often packed with kids' activities, as I'm sure yours are as well, work projects, and so much more. It's easy to let priorities slip, but my experience with therapy is that I cannot let that discipline of therapy go, because then everything else kind of starts falling apart. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire. It's very short. They'll match you with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/break today. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/break. So when you think about Bob Ross, you often think about hair, and we're going to go straight from that to clowns.
Yes, okay.
We need to talk about clowns.
I'm sorry, yes.
I understand you were once spotted at the Bob Baker Marionette Theater.
Yeah, we did. We've done 2 Bob Baker days so far.
Wow.
As Bozo the Clown and Jozo the Clown and Nunu. All this, we have a big clown crew that comes out.
Let's take us back.
Take us back?
Okay.
Yeah, all of these things stem from things I love, growing up. So Clowns, yeah. I love Bozo the Clown.
A lot of people don't like clowns.
I know.
They're very scared.
More
Stephen
now,
King made people scared of clowns.
Yeah, that did not help. And it's like sort of been this, they've gotten a lot of publicity recently, like in the past few years. So people in this time period may be a little more sort of scared of clowns but, chlorophobia, the true fear of clowns, is only 4% of the population.
It's a good stat for you to be able to rattle off.
That's a lot of people if you break it down, but not really. And then we did a big study, and most people that like scary clowns also like funny clowns. They like all clowns. So
wait. So hold on a second. So there's like a population divide.
Yeah.
There's people who like happy clowns, but they don't like scary clowns.
Yeah.
But I would guess that most people who like scary clowns are also cool with happy clowns.
Yes, exactly. They like it. But scary clowns used to just be for Halloween. So then they just started now. It's like always.
They went mainstream.
I know. There's a lot of weird things that, but scary clowns aren't true clowns. I mean, true clowns you're supposed to bring you joy or make you laugh or, have you laugh at them. They allow you to laugh at them.
I'm not trying to be an asshole, but is it written somewhere that that's true? Because in my opinion, clowns could be whatever the fuck they want, and sometimes they're terrifying.
No, there's a code of conduct in real clowns. Yeah, you can never be drunk as a clown. You can never
Also, we're recording, I should let the people at home know, we're recording this during International Clown Week.
That's right.
And it was established by everybody's favorite clown, Richard Nixon, to recognize clowns' contributions, charitable work, and wholesome entertainment. So I'm being totally serious. There's clown conduct.
Yes, there's clown conventions you can go to. There's clown
you can't smoke?
Groups. Yeah, you can't smoke, you can't drink.
Can you have facial hair?
Well, as a clown, all you're really doing is providing, hopefully, happy memories. That's what you're supposed to. You're supposed to be able to laugh at them, or you laugh at me. Let's all laugh at each other. But it's not supposed to be mean-spirited. You're not supposed to make the other. But there's all this. It goes back to Commedia dell'arte and all these historic clowns and different versions. So the white-faced clown is supposed to be the boss that kind of knows nothing. You know what I mean? So he's he might be the bossy one, but he'll get it because he's, everything will fall apart because he's trying to order people around too much. There's just some kind of, there's always kind of these little fun rules and sort of connections. But it's actually really, when you get into it, it's really kind of not heavy, but very deep and very kind of not spiritual in a foofy way. But very it's essentially the kid in your heart. You know what I mean? That silly kid that you get back in touch with that and just have fun and the way, a kid will just be let's have a tea party. Let's, let's climb a tree.
Right.
That's where your clown lives.
Where did clowning start? Do we know historically? French people are known for mimes. And I think of that.
It. I mean, that's all part of it.
I'm super into this.
I know it. Some First Nation people had clowns, that they typically used to kind of And I'm not. I've been studying it, but I'm not in any way. I guess I am professional. I'm starting to be a professional. I did study with amazing clown Misha Usov, who wrote a book called The Invisible Clown, which is really helpful. But yeah, so yeah, they would sort of use it to kind of like show clown bad behavior. It's supposed to sort of mirror society. It's in the monarchy, it was the only person that could speak truth to power without the fear of getting their head cut off.
Got it.
So they really had a really important role within the whole structure of it all. And a lot of the time, they'd use it to be, like the drunk clown, like coming in, not actually drunk, but performing as if drunk. Right. And then people would be like, oh, you don't want to be that guy.
Huh. Also, I was thinking, like, rodeos have clowns, right? To distract the bull, is that correct?
That's true. That's a whole different, stunt clown. Yeah.
I'm a fan of Puddles. Do you know who Puddles is?
I love Puddles. I opened for Puddles in Tampa and Spookala or whatever. I don't know.
What was your opening? Like, what did you do?
I did a pickle party.
Wow.
Pickle party. Where I had these like kind of dancing pickles, and then I would just say pickle. When I say pickle, you say party. You say pickle party. And then I'd throw out these pickles. But then I was told afterwards that you kind of can't throw things like you have to be careful not to hurt anybody.
Because clowns can't hurt people.
Yeah, no.
I mean, not our kinds of clowns.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to. But, I wasn't throwing them in a malicious way. But they were like the bag pickles, too. I wasn't just throwing...
Just random pickle. I mean, you know what? I don't really have a preference for how you throw pickles if you're throwing pickles. I don't.
It was fun, though. It was just ridiculous. And then at the end, I'm just like, okay, that was a pickle party. And I tried to do a little DJ set. But I didn't really have the setup. I just, have a volume control. It's like scratching, but I have a large selection of calliope and circus music.
Wow.
To choose from. And I let the audience choose.
That's awesome.
Which DJ lets you choose, really?
This David Arquette, DJ.
Well, Bozo the Clown, actually.
Right, exactly. What this is kind of more recent, right? You acquired the rights to Bozo in 2021, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
But you had clowning interests before then.
I fell in love with Bozo when I moved to Chicago, and my family moved to Chicago, and I saw it. And I saw Bozo the Clown on TV, and he was just at Chicago at the time. He was at WGN, and there's a guy named Bob Bell who was the Bozo, and he was just so funny, and he had this sidekick Cookie and this whole world. And then I went to Ringling Brothers, and I thought they were all connected, and I saw Lou Jacobs there, and I was like, these clowns are incredible, like this world, I can't believe it. And I got this big Lou Jacobs poster that I still have, and then my dad started dressing up as Butter the Clown and would come to my birthday parties.
Who's Butter the Clown?
Butter the Clown is was one of my clown friends when I was younger, and he would come to all my birthday parties, and then he'd leave, and then my dad would show up, and I said, "Dad, you just missed Butter." And there's this one picture of our whole family dressed as clowns, and the story goes that they were like, if you opened up a bank account at this bank, they would give you they would take a professional photograph of you. So my family all dressed up as clowns.
Oh my
God. We went and took this photo.
Wait, back that up. What?
Yes. We went into the bank as clowns and we took this photo. Yeah.
Does that photo exist somewhere?
That photo does exist, yeah.
Is it outrageous?
It's pretty fun. I mean...
Are you all the same clown? Different clowns?
My brother Richmond didn't want to dress as a clown, so I think he just painted his nose red.
Okay.
I had thrown a tantrum or something, so I remember looking at this pillow and it's all white, and they're like, we gotta go. And then you see, I just had this memory after I'd seen that picture and been going through all this clown stuff. But then, so my makeup's I'm just sort of I look more like a mime, really. And then, my sister Patricia's in it. My sister Rosanna had already moved to Los Angeles.
She was like, fuck this. I am not dressing as a clown for this bank picture.
Yeah.
Okay,
But
so what was
Butter the Clown was there too,
of course.
which should have
Confused
me.
you.
But
What was Patricia's clown?
it was a subtle clown. Yeah, she was subtle clown. But yeah, she was a clown too, and Alexis is a clown.
What was your mom's clown costume?
She was this sort of my mom with her frizzy hair and a hat, and yeah, she didn't do too much makeup.
Got it. I'm just going to be honest. Is there anything else you want to talk about regarding clowns? Because, like, I mean, I could talk about Puddles forever. You know, just
Puddles
like I want to.
is amazing.
So
Puddles
let's
only sings.
Correct.
He doesn't speak.
Yeah. Can you explain to people?
Yeah.
And when you go to Puddles shows, they're called his pity parties. You go to Puddles pity party.
He's very sad.
He's
melancholy.
He's melancholy.
Yeah.
Okay, explain who Puddles is.
Puddles is an incredible singer. He's my favorite clown right now. I mean, I just love him. He's an incredible singer. He loves sort of taking familiar songs and making them his own with this sort of operatic, like very strong, beautiful voice.
And he doesn't speak. He only sings.
Speak. Although there's something called Clown Alley. Do you know what Clown Alley is?
No.
Clown Alley is, I don't know, and this is where I'm not as professional a clown. It's sort of back, it's wherever behind the performances.
Oh, okay.
So it's sort of like the dressing room, I guess, where it would typically be. But in Clown Alley, you pass down secrets, of the trade and the history. And it really goes back. He can speak to it, but he doesn't speak.
Right.
But maybe Puddle's friend could.
Right.
But yeah, he gave me some tips.
Wow.
And sort of like some history on it. It was really beautiful.
It reminds me of like magician vibes, right? Like when you think about magicians passing down that kind of lore.
Yeah.
Like clowns to me have that sort of mystery around them.
There is. Yeah. And it's also, there is some generational stuff. Like with that and with wrestling, another thing that. So
we'll get to
it. I love all these things.
Yet.
That's why I do them. Like I love Bob Ross as a kid. I loved Bozo as a kid. I loved wrestling as a kid. So then I just pursue those kind of things. And you'll find out that everyone's sort of in the clown world or circus world, or even in the Bob Ross painting world. Like they're all there because they love these things. That's why, and his funny thing about wrestling is like, it's also generational and all these people have like grown up in it. But even like the vendors at the events are there because they love wrestling. Or if you go to horror convention, all the people that are there because they love horror. So it's just, to me, it's like just, you should just do something you love, and then you'll be surrounded by things you love and people that also love the same things as you.
We can't leave clowns without this bit of Valerie research that she just sent me.
Yes.
The most ancient clowns have been found in the 5th dynasty of Egypt. That's 2400 BC.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago that people needed to fucking laugh.
I'm telling you. It's
okay,
true.
Sorry, now we can leave clowns.
No, I also think there's a connection right there if you want to get like metaphysical about, aliens.
Yes,
and
pyramids. I'm into it.
And clowns. And I think clowns can communicate with the aliens, personally.
Really?
Yeah, I think they
You
know.
have access to something?
Well, they obviously know Bigfoot.
I mean, that wouldn't have been where I went first, but okay, well, we'll leave that aside for now.
They're descendant of Bigfoot. They must be.
I mean,
look at the feet.
True. Valerie also wants us to know the clown characters trace back to ancient Greece. The first documented professional entertainers were the comic characters of the Dorian mimes in the 7th century BC. These bald-headed, padded buffoons known as decalictes, or those who put on plays, performed in farce and mime, parodying more serious characters and sometimes throwing nuts at the audience. Not pickles, David. They portrayed a variety of characters: soldiers, fools, witches, slaves, and Greek gods. Very interesting. But I want to sort of, I want to touch on what you mentioned about this sort of like belonging community, and especially belonging around something that also may not be like in our modern society praised, right? We live in a culture of like, make money, get famous, be an influencer. And even before the internet, when you and I were kids, there was a strong emphasis on, making money and getting ahead and, putting on a suit and like stock, like stocks. And like that was a thing that like dudes wanted to do when I was in, junior high and high school. Like the smartest dudes were like, I'm going to go into finance, which I think sounds not like what I would like to do. But I wonder if there's something to kind of what you're talking about. I'm thinking of kind of also like you were raised in this sort of like post-vaudeville, kind of clan of comedy, right? And of entertaining. And a lot of people see acting as frivolous. We're playing dress up for a living, right? But I love this notion of like pleasure principle, right? If it's enjoyable and if you're a person who can bring that out in people, why wouldn't you want to be surrounded by that? Can you talk a little bit about sort of, notions of what makes you successful and pursuing what really is kind of a passion of what makes you happy?
Yeah, well, I think the most like important thing, and it does go to clown or does go to things you love, about one of the greatest gifts of acting is being able to provide a moment of escape or like emotional connection, or somebody like can like get lost in a story. And you could also being able to be part of a story. This is really wonderful. I did this movie called Dead Man's Walk and was like 3 months in West Texas and got to work with Harry Dean Stanton and Johnny Lee Miller. Well, me and Johnny Lee Miller were in it, and he's English, but he had been doing a Western accent for this whole time, even though he's English, but we're on top of these horses, and there's a herd of buffalo that they had brought in that we're going to ride our horses through. And he goes, David, can you believe we're on top of horseback about to ride through a herd of buffalo? That's like, no, Johnny, I can't. Mm. So like that moment, like there's moments like that in, or like high peaks, but that's like the biggest, like amazing thing to be able to do to reach that point. And that was early in my career, but so as a kid, it's like you're playing the most advanced form of like make-believe. But then when you really like reach it, when you find those moments within these scenes and connection with the fellow actors and, the script and the director and, everyone working in the scene together, it's beautiful when you can find those moments of reality in something that's kind of, manufactured.
I think there's something really lovely about these interests of yours, I don't know, you're at a place in your career where you can take them on in ways that are really meaningful and, are really having a significant impact, which you don't have to do art for that reason, but it's just, I think it's personally kind of cool.
It's super difficult too. Like I never knew like the bozo element, like, so it took me 15 years to acquire the rights, and it was always sort of a dream of mine. And then like the reality of it and all the work that goes into it, and like wrestling as well, like the pain and the like really what they go through, like the struggle of it and going city to city and, the lack of sleep and all the kind of things that come along with doing these things. It's not that glamorous. Like the glamorous part happens seldomly and it, and you do reach those moments. But a lot of the time it's, I'm still like, I don't know what my next acting gig is. I'm like trying to find it and meet the right people. And, most people won't even admit to stuff like that, but I don't care. I'm like, on the hustle. But there was a really big actor, like at the peak of the business and the peak of his career. And we were on vacation and he's like on the phone and I heard him say like, well, just have him let me in the room and I can show him the character there. And I was like, wait a second. Are you telling me that you are trying to get in a room for a part and they won't even see you? Like it never ends. You know what I mean? Which is pretty interesting. Like, so I don't know. I've learned in this world that you always have to kind of hustle and do other things as well. At least I do, so I won't like go nuts. Mm-hmm. So trying to do these other kind of like business or interests or charities or whatever it is that also occupy your time really helps a lot to not like dive into the I'm horrible. I'll never work again. I'm a terrible actor. I don't know why I did that role. Why did that movie turn out that way? Because you do these things, and as a working actor, you never know exactly how they're going to turn out. So you might read a great script, and then you get to the set, and they have half the budget, and you just kind of like make the best of it.
Let's talk about wrestling.
Okay.
I didn't know this about you. And, you know, in my defense, I was in college, I was in grad school in the years that you started doing this. Then I made humans and I raised them.
Yes.
But I didn't know that this was like a thing. So it looks like for 21 years of your life, you were a wrestler.
Well, no, I was involved in wrestling.
Okay, got it. But you were involved in wrestling for over 2 decades.
Yes.
I mean, I fell asleep at the wheel and missed out on all of this. So...
Yeah, after Blossom, my wrestling career really took off. I'm sorry.
If I had a nickel. So well, I mean, it was a handful of years after Blossom, right? We finished in, I think, 94, and I went to college. Okay, so how does one start wrestling?
Well, so I loved wrestling as a kid. My dad did a voice on Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. He did Jimmy Superfly Snuka, which is so like culturally inappropriate now, but so I always loved it. I'd go to like the shows as a kid. It was like I saw Andre the Giant at the Los Angeles Sports Arena, and then I after I did Scream, you kind of like. When you have a successful movie, it makes it easier to get scripts and kind of like, okay, you get more offers or you can kind of make things happen. So I read this script called Ready to Rumble, and it was about wrestling. And on like page 5 or 6, it says Macho Man Randy Savage comes out of the, into the liquor store. I was like, I called my agent. I was like, did they really get Macho Man Randy Savage on this? And they're like, yes. I was like, I'll do it. I can't believe that. So I got to meet Macho Man Randy Savage and, Hulk Hogan and all these, wrestlers, Sting and Booker T and all these guys, Rey Mysterio, all these guys, and do this wrestling movie where I was like this wrestling super fan. And then to promote it, it was attached to a company called WCW. And to promote it, I went on the few of the shows and it got a good reaction. And they said, listen, if you stay till the pay-per-view, we'll make you the champion. I was like, what? That's crazy. I mean, that's like a dream come true. Like every fan's dream as a kid, at least for me, was like holding up wow, he's the champion. He's got the belt. Like, that's so cool. I'd love to be the champion someday. And so then when they said that, I was like, oh. And I was like, wait, no, that's a terrible idea. Like the fans, everyone will be upset. We shouldn't do that. And then I did it anyway, I guess. But they did hate me for like 20 years. So then I went back after 20 years because I was like the butt of the joke. Like, that's a worse decision than making David Arquette the champion. And I went back and then I really wrestled.
Very serious fans. These are like, the fans for this community are very, very intense, loyal. They've got a lot of opinions, right? Like about how things go and how they work. And
generational and like all the work they put in. And for someone to get an opportunity like that who hasn't paid their dues is really kind of, I didn't understand the depth of all of it. And actually there's a wrestler named Booker T. And after the fans got so upset, we were sitting in the dressing room. I said, well, Booker T, how many times have you been champ? And he said, I haven't been the champion. I was like, oh. And then it like hit me like, oh my gosh. So the next time I went out, I was like, I don't deserve to be champion. Booker T deserves to be champion. And Chris Canyon, all these different guys. But so after like 20 years, after the heart thing, after I was like, I came out of the heart thing and my wife's like, how are you? You okay? I was like, I'm fine, but I feel like there's something I have to do about wrestling. And she was like, wrestling? Like, why is that the first thing you're talking about coming out of this thing? But it was apparently something that had been part of my mind and subconscious. So I was like, I really got to So I went back and I wrestled for a couple years independently, and I went around the country and, had a bunch of crazy matches. I had this really insane thing called a deathmatch, which I really wasn't clear on. But yeah, I
Tell
nearly
us
died.
about the death match. Yeah, so tell us about the death match.
Well, the deathmatch, we did this documentary called You Cannot Kill David Arquette. And I
It's a
went
great
down
title.
thank you. It was based on this song that these people had written when I did the original Scream. They had just written this funny song because I never died in the movies.
Right.
So then we used it as the title and in the title song. They were called Black Math Experiment. But so then so throughout I go to Tijuana, and I learned to train with luchadors, and then I have my first match with a guy named RJ City, and he knees me in the face, and it blows up. And then you learn quickly in wrestling how real it actually is.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, a lot of people have this notion of, like, it's not real. And I understand there's theatrical aspects to the personalities and the characters. But yeah, what's actually, like, you can't pretend.
You know who's going to win or lose typically. And you know sort of a structure of a match.
Got it.
There's some really interesting, it's another form of performance that, it goes back to the circus. They used to have a wrestling match right outside the big circus tent, and the people would come around there, and then they'd sell them tickets to the circus. So I think it's all sort of weirdly connected. There's still like a carny element to it, and the traveling from city to city element that goes on, and this sort of generational thing as well. So it's funny because you're telling a story a lot of the time, unless it's on television, you have a mic to do an interview or something. Most of the time it's silent or you just scream at the crowd, but it's not like they're hearing your lines or something. So you have to a lot of the time people think it's over the top, but it's this really interesting balance because you have to be over the top, but you have to draw emotion out of people and have them feel for you or have them hate you or have them love you without you know what I mean? With just through what's going on. And it's always kind of good against bad. And so it's this really interesting form of performance because I'd see myself me and RJ had this funny thing where I would go to the top rope and I was going to jump off and he'd say, "Get down here. Get down here, young man." And I'd come down. He'd say, "Don't you do that. Get back to the corner. Let me do this. I'm the professional." And I would sulk over to the corner and I'd think I'd be doing it really slow. And I'd look back and I'd just walk to the corner. I was like, oh, you actually have to overdo things just for the audience to pick up on it. So it became this really fine line. And then when you could draw real emotion, it was really beautiful to see. So then I did something called a death match, which I didn't really know the extent.
The title didn't tip you off?
Yeah, it should have. It should have. But I was there's little things a death match is something that includes things that you could find around the arena, like a stop sign or a ladder or a barbed wire or a light tube, which are dangerous.
Yeah.
But it's things that you could find around there that you could then use in a match, a chain.
Got it.
So, yeah, I was sure, light tubes, no problem. But then it's advanced so much that they come out and there's 6 light tubes. So I was oh, you didn't.
And you mean
really...
are they light bulbs?
Yeah,
They're
the fluorescent tubes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, not smart, not healthy for you. Yeah. But there's this element, a lot of the blood that you typically see in wrestling matches is real blood. It's not fake blood. So that's interesting.
Yeah. So you got hit with this, is it glass? It's a real light bulb kind of?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a light tube. Yeah, I got hit with it, and then it sort of got out of control, and then I, it's kind of I pulled his legs because I was feeling taky and bad. It's a weird thing because you have to trust your
Right.
opponent. You're kind of like, you're looking after each other, but you're also beating each other up.
Well, and like, that's the thing is like, your nervous system doesn't know, like, your nervous system doesn't really know the difference between fake and real.
Yeah.
Meaning, if you get hit, if your body is in pain,
Yeah.
right? If you're bleeding, like your brain and nervous system are gonna act on that.
Yeah.
And you can try and cognitively be like, no, it's for the cameras, or no, it's okay. But there's a certain amount of like adrenaline and like all these other chemicals that are going to rush through your body that I would imagine can make it hard to sort of temper that.
Absolutely. And there's also all this dynamic going on.
There's
in
an
a
audience
ring.
and people cheering. And
Yeah, and there's
I don't
like
think this is a
people-
very good idea, David. Why did you do
No,
this?
it was a horrible
Why
idea.
didn't you speak to me before?
I know, I should have. It was a terrible idea. But the funny thing is, when I went in that place, they hated me. They hated me. It was like a room full of 20 years of like, and hatred toward actors in general.
David, this is
And
terrible for us
yeah,
actors.
I
We're
know.
very tender.
So I went in there and, but by the time I left, they were like cheering and like, there was moments, it's really interesting, the level of like passion they have toward this wrestling. It gets sort of really crazy. Like I thought I was dying. So there was a situation that happened where I literally thought I was dying for a few, like a minute or two. And then I found out I got stabbed in the neck with the light tube. So I found out that that it wasn't pumping. So I knew I wasn't dying.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, the things you need to know about arteries, I guess, is part of it. You said something interesting that I hope you're okay with me kind of like taking it here. You just described, going somewhere where you want to be welcomed, right? You want to be liked. And all these people have preconceived notions about you or whatever. And they're allowed to be like super verbally aggressive, right?
Oh, they'll spit on you.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. So great. So
intense.
it's abusive. I
They
mean,
could, yeah, in wrestling, like if you get them riled up enough, they like attack you.
Right. So, but then you described, winning them over, right? You described that. And what it reminded me of as an actor is like, that's what you want, right? When you go into an audition room, you want to take someone who doesn't believe you can do something and turn them into something who believes that you can. But then I was thinking about, and this isn't like, this wasn't pre-planned. Then I was thinking about what you talked about with your parents and like what I kind of have read and what your sisters have talked about and what you've talked about. Sometimes being a kid in a complicated family can feel a little bit like this dynamic of like,
Absolutely.
I want to belong. I want to feel loved, cared for, right? But it can sometimes feel dangerous, right? And some of us grow up in abusive situations where then the goal becomes like, let me win you over, right?
Yeah.
Does that is it?
Yeah, there's a lot of that. But I think it's like, that could describe kindergarten, a lot of the time. You know what I mean? It's tough out there. Like being a human is not easy all the time. And, I have it easy. You know what I mean? In some aspects of, but not, you know what I mean? Like life's complicated and I'm my worst enemy. And so when I was recovering in the hospital, I was like, why am I beating the hell out of myself? Why am I putting my life at risk?
Because if you do it, no one else can do it worse.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Let's talk about addiction because what I know is also like the place where it is hardest to be a human. Some of us are born with more of a propensity to need to escape that humanness, right?
Yeah.
And some of us are born with allergies, right? With like mental obsessions and, kind of a physical allergy or a spiritual, kind of longing. And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about kind of when your use started and when it became clear to you that you were kind of using things to make it easier to be a human.
Yeah. I mean, growing up in LA was pretty like wild.
Right.
And we started drinking like pretty early. I mean, I tasted beer when I was younger, but I remember like running around. I don't know how young I was, but very young, not a teenager yet. And then we were at this, I was friends with this family named the Gleasons who threw this incredible St. Patrick's Day party. And the parents would leave Irish coffees lying around. So we'd like down them. And then it was like coffee and whiskey. So we all like hopped up on, Irish coffees. And then when we got older in high school, we were like drink 40s and all the kind of stuff. And then like when we turned 18 or 20, we'd like go to these bars and start drinking. And then I guess it's a progressive thing. So it got much worse. And especially the more you tried to numb the pain of like life and things that came at me. It was really hard, me losing my mother. It was really hard going through a divorce. Those are sort of the trigger moments for me. So.
Can you talk about the difference? This is one of the things that comes up a lot, on our podcast. A lot of people, even at the height of their career, the height of success, that's often when like those voices become really loud, right? And for some people, it's like you're an imposter or you don't deserve it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I wonder, a lot of people drink, right? And like I went to school with a lot of people and you would see people doing drugs and like people really into, I'm depending on your age, like people really into acid and, cocaine wasn't really a thing. I was kind of later than that and then it became popular again. If you missed it the first time, you can go again. But I wonder, because some people like drink like that and then they stop, right? And I listen to a lot of AA speakers and, a lot of what they say is that like, everybody would be drinking a certain way, but then there'd come a point where people were like, that's enough, right? Or like, I have a test tomorrow, right? And then there's some people for whom there is no stopping, right? I wonder, do you know what it is? Like, and I know you've been to rehab, like you've done all the thinking about it. I'm curious if you can share what was it about you? Like, do you know what hole you were trying to fill?
Oh man, I'm not really exactly sure. I mean, it's still like life is kind of hard. My brain, like you're, describing is very, I'm my worst. It's all constantly attacking me, and so it's you find healthy ways to address that kind of stuff, or like I like being really kind of working hard and like exercise, being creative, laughing, certain things, do music or art. But yeah, I mean, what I was trying to, I don't know. I mean, just sadness, pain, you know what I mean? Or, a lot of the time also to have fun, like I call it ego juice because it really pumps up your ego and just like, but it's like a lot of false, fake, stuff comes from that too. So, yeah. So
one of my theories about me, I'm a lot more fun when I'm not sober. Like that's just the truth, and that's why it's so dangerous, right? Meaning getting into that because everything's easier. I'm not so in my head, right? I don't have all those fears, or they get quieter, And I think that's the thing that feels so hard, when people say that like drinking's not the problem, being sober is, right? Like that's the solution, right? Like, and you can fill it with anything. You can fill it with sex or porn or work, food, not food. Alcohol's just one choice. But that notion of like, I'm not okay like this, but I'm much more likable, right? And I always say that. Like, I feel badly. Feel bad for my kids. But I see why people, if you are prone to that, why you would drink all day. Because it's more pleasant to be around. What are you like in relationships? And I'm sure your first marriage is, I'm sure, different. But, can you talk a little bit about sort of emotionally what that arc was for you?
Well, relationships are complicated. I mean, it's just, you have to like, you have to work on them. You have to like understand each other. You have to like respect each other and respect each other's boundaries and, understand each other's needs and, be, sensitive and caring and also, have your boundaries of like, when you need, not to be, pushed or, but like, I don't know, understanding what each other needs or, being there for each other.
It's a lot of talking.
It's a lot of stuff. I mean, it's not, I don't know. There's something, I mean, I don't know why, if I was like the youngest and, a latchkey kid kind of thing, because I kind of spent, hours playing with Legos or just, walking to school alone at 6 or something. You know what I mean? Like the way we used to live was just kind of different. And like, I don't know. So I'm comfortable sort of being alone a lot of the time or, but I love, family and I love, being a father and being a husband and all of that stuff. But it does all take work and I get triggered, super triggered. But you like learn different things about that. If I raise my voice, I'll apologize to my kids. I try not to, but then sometimes you see like, we've been asking you for 2 hours to be quiet. So you're not gonna, until I like, do I have to yell for you to stop? like these moments where it's not always pretty and it's not,
I mean, that's how I used to speak to my husband. I guess it's no wonder we're divorced.
It happens, none of it's like, I don't know. There's something about life that's just messy. It's at times and figure out like how to make it not as messy or like, how to find fun, how to be like, tap into that person that you feel like when you were drunk, you know what I mean? Without any of it. But it's also like those seldom times where you find it, where it's just like, but that's where like doing things that you love, you'll have a better chance of finding them in those moments. Although getting there is really a lot of work.
I wonder if you can talk, I know you're not married to Courteney Cox anymore, but what's it like when you were two working actors like that? And I know that your current wife is also, a public and has a presence as well. But
producer.
Yeah, but I wonder, can you talk about sort of, what it's like sort of having double fame in a relationship?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird, so it started when I was like I knew my grandfather, I just saw him on TV, you know what I mean? I know my dad and my grandfather had this weird like, my father was an actor, and like he was living under his father's shadow. So there's this weird deal there. Then you break out, you do your career, you give up a lot in a relationship just in general with, your individuality. And you get a lot too, obviously. But, and then being married to her at a time where there was this huge,
it was
like,
astronomical.
Yeah, it was a very like wild time. And so you see this whole world and then, and then just divorce in general for anybody sort of could be very painful and having a child and, wanting to, maintain a healthy relationship, as co-parents. But then meeting another incredible person and just falling in love again and having 2 kids and now, balancing it all, my daughter's down school and, she's 20 and my kids, we have like a farm. So I don't know, it's a lot of work. Like now we're, now it's about cleaning up after animals and, all the stuff that goes into that. So I don't know. But, she loves animals. I love animals too, but she really loves animals and gardens and so I don't know. It's just the other thing, find things you love and then pour your heart into them.
I wonder if you can talk a little bit about, you've talked about undergoing like ketamine psychotherapy.
Yeah.
And we've talked a lot about psilocybin, the use of psilocybin. We've talked about ayahuasca here, and we've had Rick Doblin on to talk about, a lot of the legislation trying to open up, the notion of these things as therapeutic medicines. But we haven't, I don't think we've had anybody on specifically to talk about it. And, this is just to clarify, a lot of people, when they think of like ketamine, they're like, oh, you like get hooked up to an IV and you go night-night.
I have done that kind of treatment.
But
they
you can
do
also,
that. Like
right.
they give you a high dose and it'll
Correct.
put you right out. Some
Right.
of that.
But
they
there's
also do the
thera-
stuff that you
right.
can stay up and have a therapy session.
Right.
I've had that. So it's a
Talk about that. That's just a hoot.
it's a
Dissociative.
yeah. And it sort of resets your neurotransmitters, I guess. It's interesting. I mean, it's a lot of these things. I mean, people don't talk about pot. Like for some people, if they have schizophrenia in their background, can like just getting high can actually
you can
cause,
hallucinate and
no, it can actually cause psychosis. There's different levels. Like you have to be careful with everything. Yeah, I used to be like, I don't know. I sound like a death wish or something. But with ketamine, I don't know. It's really interesting, and you can really kind of get into like, understanding some stuff about yourself. But it also can create a level of like, you have to be careful because it could have a delusional aspect too, and make you kind of a little. If you go down those roads, it could make you a little loony. I don't know. You just have to be sort of careful with everything. Like, for a guy like me, like at one point they had given me like these lozenges for it. You know what I mean? And you're supposed to take one every like 8 hours or something, one little corner of it. But for me, that corner.
What'd you do?
Like, I maybe not wait that long for that other corner. Well, it's just, there's only 2 corners left. Oh, let's just take this whole thing.
Got it. That's a different experience.
And then like, you have to go somewhere, and then you're like in public this way. Once, that happened. But so you have to be careful. And I was like, okay, I know for myself, I can't, be in charge of my own medication delivery system.
Well, I think then that's something interesting that comes up because a lot of people who are addicts, right, are dealing with stuff. And if you remove all of the stuff that you use to numb what's going on, you're then just kind of left with your issues, right? So then there's all these other modalities that are coming out that are in many ways can be more effective than, let's say, SSRIs or just standard psychotherapy, right? But you're taking a system that has some sort of trauma, right, that you added addiction to. So then you add this medicine that kind of has a like chase the dragon quality to it because it makes you feel better. It makes you have revelations, right? It's kind of a hard thing. Like some people don't know, like, what do you use when you're trying to treat someone who has a history of addiction? Can you treat them with something that can be abused like that?
Yeah, I think if you do it like the most effective way I'd done it is to do it on like they have it like scheduled. So you come in, and do it for like an hour in an office, very like, take your phone away.
Right. So you can't look up fun things to watch one stone.
Or go live.
Or go live. Got it. Okay. Did you do that also?
I did that once.
You did that once?
Oh gosh. That's the delusional part. Like it's like,
this seems like a good idea.
The world needs to know. No, nobody needs to know anything about certain things.
Yeah.
So just like, and then there's like a few times you're supposed to do it, and then you reset it, and then you're not supposed to do it. And then, there's like a little kind of, like you have to get equal again, just like with time and sleep and like figuring out, and then you feel a little better for a while. But I go through these highs and lows and like, so it's hard for me to like, I don't know. I don't know. It's not easy, like life, you know what I mean? I've get down quite a bit. And, even with like doing fun performances or something or doing, you can come to like super crash after them and be like, oh, and, and just the nature of an actor when not knowing what you're doing there.
Right.
And, being judged and like, criticized, and I don't know, there's the wah, but, there is it does have a toll on your self-esteem. And for someone who's like, ego wants to just go like light on fire, it is a constant ego crusher in a weird way. And then you're like, then it's also a ego booster, and you do something and everybody's like, oh, it was so great. You're so great. And like, oh, so there's this weird highs and lows and balance in life.
Before I let you go, what helps you? Like what helps you stay, I don't know, some sort of even? Like, do you like meditating? Do you like therapy? Like, what do you like?
I wish I could meditate more. I try to. It does help when I do it. When I like, I'm really in good shape. I can meditate. I can like do yoga, but working out, like doing something physical for at least a half hour, like even like an hour, like a hike in nature, that really helps me. Just breathing the air, like getting in touch with just breathing and like being conscious of that. Doing something creative always helps. Hanging out with friends and like people you enjoy, and like, like being able to like just take note of the little silly finer things in life. Like ice cream becomes really a beautiful moment. You know what I mean? If you make it like a thing and it's not just like a tub, you know what I mean? And you're just, when you make it like a experience, or like a nice meal, or like,
mindfulness, right? I mean, you're talking about being mindful.
Totally. But a hike. I mean, hikes are probably the best, I think. And sleep. Sleep is really important. And I only like get 6 hours a night. I should probably stop saying that.
Small children, it's like.
Yeah, I don't know. The state of the world's also been kind of on my mind quite a bit.
You think?
A little bit. I just want kindness to start to like come back. Like, let's make kindness cool again. Like, it's hard. That's also something hard to do. But you could see when like divisive characters, have microphones and they start really sort of promoting. So you could tell me, about this stuff. I heard there's a physics theory that if 10% of a school of fish swerve, the other 90 will follow.
Right.
And if 10% of a flock of birds turns, like the other 90 will eventually follow. And I apply that to like our society and life and like, what we're putting out there. So I always try to think of that in terms of like, what's going on now. Like, I think took it a swerve toward the sort of, dark side. But I think we can easily swerve back. I also think there's more sort of kind people out there and good, like people. I think one thing that like, at least if you're a parent, or, at least if you were somebody's son or daughter, or, even like non-binary, if you don't like, if that's your thing too, like, I don't care. Like, I want people to be happy. I don't understand like, judgment of like, when somebody loves, so, I want love to win.
Yeah. Tell us about The Good Half.
Yeah.
It is available. It's out now, correct?
Yeah, it's out now.
Really, really cool project. Tell us a little bit about it.
Incredible movie by Robert Schwartzman, who's an incredible director, also an actor and musician. And he's really got this really great eye and taste for comedy and relationships. It's based on a true story. Nick Jonas is the star, about a kid who's going back to Cleveland because his mother passed away. And he's having to deal with the reality of that. And I'm his stepfather. I play a character named Rick, he doesn't really take their feelings into consideration. And he's kind of this oddball character. And it's got Brittany Stowe and Matt Walsh, Alexandra Shipp, and Elizabeth Shue. It's just a fun, beautiful
Awesome.
cast. Really enjoyed doing it. It was a quick movie to shoot, but it's got a really beautiful sort of take on it. You know, at one point I say to him, like, everyone grieves in their own way, because he gets upset at me. And it's funny, like, I get really upset at him back. I play a narcissist in it, which is really funny. I just find narcissists so interesting. I mean, in the worst and best ways. But yeah, so I was always like, I don't know. There's a certain level of narcissism you have to have as an actor, I feel, or wrestler, and all these worlds that I'm in, to have the confidence to do certain things, to believe in yourself, to like, you know, but it's a fine line between that and, you know,
being a total asshole.
And just not caring about really any really thing else except for how it affects, like, how you're looked at because of it. But I don't know. It's a funny, I asked my therapist one time, I was like, do you have any narcissistic clients? And he's like, no. He's, you want to know why? And I said, yeah, why? He's like, they don't need me. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting.
So if you're in therapy, you're not a narcissist. That's the take-home message from David Arquette.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming to talk. The Good Half is out now. And this is the closest I've ever been to Nicolas Cage, because you were formerly an in-law. And I'm a huge Nicolas Cage fan. So this is the closest I've come in my.
Have you ever met him?
No, in my quest to be 6 degrees.
He's such an
connected to Nicolas Cage.
Guy.
This is the closest I've gotten. But really, a pleasure to see you again after working together twice and me forgetting the second one at all. But thank you so much. And from our breakdown to the one we hope you never have, we'll see you next time.
It's Mayim Bialik's breakdown. She's gonna break it down for you. She's got a neuroscience PhD or two. One fiction, one and now she's gonna break down. It's a breakdown. She's gonna break it down.